in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This weekend, the big state fair has already started, and next week is going to be pretty chillaxed, and hopefully people will be celebrating and having a good time, reflecting on America, maybe checking out Colonial Williamsburg. I did all that colonial stuff when I was a kid. We went to all those places, Yorktown, Yorktown, Fort Sumter, I think. Can't remember if that was in South Carolina or Maryland, but we saw all those things. I feel like it's part of me. You know, I went to Philadelphia for the Liberty Bell. Got little pictures of me back when I was a kid next to all these things. I learned those lessons. They're part of me. America's good. Yes, I know. I know about slavery. Jefferson had slaves. Learned that in the first grade. Don't have to lead with it all the time. Don't have to beat us about the face and breast, chest, neck, and head. Yeah, we are going into a big weekend, and, I have not heard anything about the gas prices. I wonder why that is, because, when you're going into a holiday weekend, you need to know what the gas prices are, right? I mean, you never know. This is, how are we going to be able to afford gas? They were just so, remember going into Memorial Day weekend? Last month was Memorial Day weekend, and, all they could talk about were gas prices. Cut two, if you don't mind, Justin. Cut two.
Now to the pain at the pump that people are feeling coast to coast. Memorial Day, not just 2 weeks away. And as folks start dreaming of those summer road trips, gas prices still above $4.50 a gallon on average.
As soaring gas prices and airport chaos leave Americans rethinking summer vacation plans.
As gas prices continue to soar, reaching $4.52 a gallon on average in the U.S. today.
If you're planning to drive for Memorial Day, filling up that tank for your road trip, as we've been talking about, that's going to cost you. Gas prices are about $1.35 higher than they were last Memorial Day, according to AAA. And remember, we're still 2 weeks away, so anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Well, something did happen. The war is winding down, and gas prices are right back to where they used to be. Still getting there. We're well below $4 right now. And it's fascinating to me. Everything is negative. Everything is negative. Even the positive. The positive is negative, or the positive is just ignored. There are a lot of upsides, a lot of positive things happening as we go into this. And I guess it's no use wringing our hands about what those guys are doing or not doing. The American people can figure it out. They know what's going on for real. And things are looking up. And you know what? With that in mind, how about this John Bolton? John Bolton just pleaded guilty basically to espionage. I mean, keeping classified documents, emailing them to himself on AOL. Who uses AOL anymore? Are they even in existence? Anyway, he was an all to write a book because he hates Trump. He gets the job. He's hired as a national security advisor. I read his book. Man was bitter as hell. He thought he deserved to be the Secretary of State. You know who we're talking about, right? John Bolton with the walrus mustache. He went to Yale. I don't know what the hell it is about Yale. You go to half of Washington went to Yale, and they're very impressed with Yale. I don't know. At this point, I would not. And back in those days, you should see the essay that John F. Kennedy wrote to get into Harvard. They released his application for college, and it was like 4 lines. It was like, I would like to be a Harvard man because Harvard offers a well-rounded education that will come in handy as I pursue my ambitions. It was just like that simple, no struggle, no this, no that. It wasn't hard like it later became. Now it's getting easy again, especially if you are, if you look a certain way, or you're a certain gender. But back to Bolton, he is potentially going to jail. So he gets the job. He's got a big ego, huge ego, so huge that he thinks that we're going to invade Iraq in 2003. They're going to treat us like liberators. It's going to be easy. It's going to be over. We'll get those weapons of mass destruction, and it doesn't matter if they have them or not. We have to show the world that we're going to conquer Iraq. Easy for him to say, right? The fact that anybody who was involved in that decision is able to show their face in public, that says something. That this country reelected George W. Bush, that's something too. That ain't going to happen again. People, they used so many people who voted for George W. Bush, they feel cheated and lied to, and they were. And they became ardent MAGA supporters, and so many of them will never go back to politics as usual. So John Bolton wanted to be Secretary of State for Donald Trump. So arrogant to think he could actually get it. Obviously, there was a lot of turnover in the Trump administration, and President Trump didn't know that many people in politics and in government. And this guy came highly recommended. You really can't blame President Trump. I mean, a little bit, but if he knew who all these people were, that would have meant he wasn't Donald Trump. That would have meant he was a prisoner of the swamp. And he kind of just became, oh my gosh, you guys really are terrible. You guys aren't working for the country. You're working for yourselves. You're working for your own power. Bolton gets the job and immediately starts writing a book. And he's taking classified stuff from work so he can have a multi-million dollar book deal, which he did get. And the book was designed to hurt President Trump and his reelection chances. The damnedest thing. And actually, when I look at that book, because I read it, it helps President Trump. Yes, it's designed to, but they don't understand. They don't understand that this book helped them. I'll tell you why in a second, or how in a second. So John Bolton pled guilty to this illegally retaining classified documents. He could go to jail for a number of years. He's agreed to a $2.25 million penalty, a fine, which I think is the same amount he was advanced for that stupid book. You ready? Let's go ahead with, who is this person? She's a U.S. attorney for the southern part of Maryland. Cut 19, please. Cut 19.
This morning, just moments ago, John Robert Bolton II pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information. According to the terms of the plea agreement, Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison, followed by a term of up to 3 years of supervised release. He will also pay a fine of $2.25 million and will forfeit his pension under the HIS Act. As National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, Mr. Bolton had access to and was responsible for safeguarding the most sensitive national defense information, including classified material. Mr. Bolton knew how to handle classified information, where it should be stored, how it should be stored, and with whom he could share that information. He also knew the damage to national security that could be caused by mishandling that sensitive information. Nevertheless, as Mr. Bolton just admitted, he put our national security at grave risk in violation of the law. Our system of classified information is designed to protect sensitive information that would jeopardize national security if mishandled. And the national defense information at issue in this case was classified at the highest classification levels. The document in count 12, for example, revealed intelligence about an adversary's plans for an attack conducted against U.S. forces in another country. It contained human intelligence using sensitive sources and methods, and it discussed a covert action program. As Mr. Bolton admitted, he shared more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities as the National Security Advisor, including information related to the national defense, with two individuals who neither had the security clearances nor the need to know that information.
Well, that's very serious stuff. And then some guy from Iran hacked into his email and saw all that stuff. That's terrible. The man jeopardized the safety of every single American. And he got busted. And I think it's great. And there are more to come. More to come. You'll notice there's actually not a lot of people coming to his defense. You don't hear a lot of people, well, this is a weaponized Justice Department or President Trump getting back at his political enemies. No, this is not that. And oh, by the way, that's actually okay. It is actually okay. Political enemies, and in his judgment, political is fine. In his judgment, we voted for this man's judgment. He's allowed to exercise it. And if in his judgment, these people pose a risk to national security, he's allowed to order his Justice Department to look into it. It's right in the Constitution. Anyway, one of the things that I really am fascinated by in this case, because for a long time, Bolton had the support of the swamp and beyond. Hey, real quick, sorry. Etan Pates' killer, Pedro Hernandez, the Supreme Court said the guilty verdict stands. No new trial for Pedro Hernandez, who is a killer. Killed Etan Pates, one of the most horrific matters in New York City history. Everybody remembers, if you're old enough, where you were. I think I was in first grade, second grade. I was basically the same age as Etan Pates when he went missing there. And now we know Pedro Hernandez is the killer. They temporarily threw out the verdict because the judge allegedly made a mistake. He didn't make a mistake. Now, Pedro Hernandez started confessing to people he knew in New Jersey a long time ago. Finally, somebody in his own family said, this guy, we believe, killed that little boy in New York. And the cops visited him. He confessed. They brought him to New York. He confessed again. He had details. I remember, I think my dad may have been there. The detectives brought him to the bodega, the old bodega where he worked, right across the street from the bus stop where Etan Pates was going to catch the bus to school. He was 6 years old. He walked by himself to the bus stop. I remember doing the same thing when I was 6, literally. I walked to first grade Schubert School down Sprague Street by myself. I remember getting directions the night before. You know, I mean, I only had to cross 2 streets. The school was basically on Sprague Street, but I had to go to the other side of Sprague Street to actually get in the school. And there were 2 crosswalks, and I had it all mapped out, and you went by yourself. That's what kids did back then until this happened, and then everything was different. So Pedro Hernandez is brought back to the bodega where he used to work, right across the street from the bus stop. It's actually now, to this day, it's still an eyewear, designer eyeglasses. But it's still the same building, and it had a basement door and all that stuff. And he showed everybody, you know, this is where I was, and this is how I got him to come over here. And then he knew the basement. And Stanley Pates is a great man. He's the father of Etan. Interviewed in today's New York Times. He hasn't given a lot of interviews over the years. And he's relieved because he didn't want to have to come back to New York and relive all this stuff because he would have to testify. And I'm very happy for him and the family. His wife died a few years ago. I think Etan had a brother and sister. So I thought about that boy many, many times. And it was so wild that my dad was able to announce that they had caught the killer. And the killer now is going to do time in prison, hopefully for the rest of his life, Pedro Hernandez. Okay, back to Bolton real quick. Everybody, Donald Trump, he has no... What did they say? He has no empathy. Empathy. We need more empathy. Too much of empathy is actually a bad thing, and he's got plenty of empathy. I remember when everybody was locked down during COVID, he was the only one saying, well, what about the people who are all cooped up inside? You know, a lot of them are going to drink, and a lot of them are going to do drugs, and they're going to die, and they're going to be suicides. We got to stop that. We got to get these people back outside. He said that, and they try to shut him down. What evidence do you have? What evidence do you have? My brain, all right? And of course, all that stuff happened. That's empathy. So President Trump had ordered a missile strike on Iran. This is all the way back in 2019, I think, because they had taken out one of our drones, all right? A drone is unmanned. They can be expensive, but no pilot was killed. And they came up, John Bolton came up with a plan to hit Iran with like 89 missiles, and it was going to kill roughly 100 to 300 people. And at the last minute, President Trump said, we're not doing this. I'm calling it off. Yet in his book, Bolton says, this was the most irrational thing I had ever seen a president do. Calling off a strike against Iran that would have killed hundreds of people when they had not killed one of our guys in that strike. I mean, fine, you can have a disagreement about that. They have killed plenty of our other people, but to say that was irrational, and then to say that that man lacks empathy, you see how rigged it is. All right, there's the music on Friday, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I've seen more teen takeovers all over the place. You've seen this trend of teen takeovers? I don't know about those teenagers. When I was growing up, a teenager, that was like it was kind of like risque to be a teenager. You know, it was like, oh boy, the teenagers are up to no good. A teenager, we were like kind of in awe of teenagers. First of all, they seemed gigantic in size next to us little kids. You know, they were just these huge beings. And and they were always getting into trouble. You know, sometimes they did things like they smoked cigarettes, and they did things that we knew that they weren't supposed to do. We didn't want to be like them, but we were fascinated by them. What is that, like Rebel Without a Cause with Jimmy Dean? Like a teen rebel. Like, I think the phrase teen rebel came in that movie, Teen Rebel. And it was like a thing. And teenagers were, it's kind of a revolutionary phase of your childhood. Might stay out late, might experiment with cigarettes, maybe a little dope, hopefully not a little blow. That's right, blow, which is like really cool talk for cocaine. I never touched cocaine. I would tell you if I did. I've never had cocaine, in part because Len Bias was a University of Maryland star basketball player who had been drafted by the Celtics, and he was on his way to Boston, going to make a lot of money, and he died, and they said it was an allergic reaction to cocaine, and it was the first time he ever had it. Right? But he was allergic and he didn't know. Now, that was a cover story. I mean, apparently there's no such thing, but I got it in my head that there was such a thing, and I would never, ever, ever touch cocaine. And I'm glad I didn't. Knowing me, I probably would have liked it, and who knows what would have happened after that. But I also think, as my heart, if I remember when I smoked cigarettes for a little while, and my heart would always pound like crazy. If I had a drink, it would pound like crazy. If I had cocaine, I have no doubt it would explode. I probably am allergic to cocaine. Anyway, the teenagers, teen takeovers. Have you seen them on the news? I mean, like, I don't know why they call them teen takeovers. It sounds like that thing that I was talking about, just a bunch of teens staying out too late, hanging around the 7-Eleven. No, these are full-on riots. And they're taking over mass sections of of neighborhoods, and traffic comes to a halt, and they're beating and wailing on people. It's intense. And oh, by the way, I mean, a lot of these things seem to be potentially exclusive, in that they seem to exclude white people, right? All of the teen takeovers. Now, I'm not one to, I'm not woke, you know what I mean? I really don't care too much about race, but I do see a trend that would be unavoidable and totally remarkable if it were white gangs marauding like that. White people be no good as well. It wouldn't be a teen takeover. It would be a riot. But the fact that it's people of color, I think, makes commentators a little bit inhibited, or I don't know. But it's not a teen takeover. It's a riot, and it's serious. And there are potential racial implications. All right, can we say that? I think there are racial implications. And with racial implications, I want to go to the number one race hustler himself, and worse, by the way. There are a lot of race hustlers out there. A lot of them, right? Maybe, and some some you don't. By the way, race hustlers can be black and white. One of the biggest race hustlers in the world is a woman named Robin DiAngelo. She wrote a book called White Fragility, and it's comical how stupid he is. she is. And when she gets confronted by folks who kind of call her out on her game, it's hilarious. They've got something coming. But so Barack Obama is more in the news lately, more than he usually is. He was keeping a very low profile, only speaking to exclusive groups, like I was just talking about, for a lot of money, and doing who the hell knows what, because he lives in Washington, D.C., spends a lot of time there. Our founding fathers did not like the idea of a secretive president trying to direct the deep state, and I do think that's what's happening. You got to get the hell out of D.C. once you're done being president. Nobody has ever done this with the exception of Woodrow Wilson, and I think he was an invalid. He was an invalid. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't. But it creates the appearance of, wow, there's another very powerful person here. Maybe the government should talk to him. Maybe the government should take his marching orders. So here is, and I think that's a real threat. I know Obama's been behind, the 2016 Russia hoax. He sabotaged a presidency. He sabotaged a presidential campaign. And for that, he should be criminally charged and prosecuted. And I hope he will. And that's not out of the woods. He's not out of the woods. So here he is, kind of dunking on President Trump with this old stupid thing about, I'm living rent-free in your head. Do you ever hear that? People talk about, it's like some sort of, it's supposed to be funny. It's not. Here is Barack Obama, baby, with some guy who's interviewing him who I never heard of. Let's take a look.
The leader of this current administration is still very fascinated with you and your family, constantly bringing you guys up. And you've been out of office nearly 10 years now. How do you continue to keep your cool and take the high road, so to speak? Because we asked Michelle, and Michelle said we don't have to take the high road no more. We just have to be strategic in our approach.
That's what she said.
But she said we don't have to take the high road. But you constantly seem to meet the negativity and the racism with class, and it makes you stand out so high. Cool. But you don't just want to cuss his ass out, or sometimes.
I mean, the thing about it is, look, you got to ask him what it is that
the obsession.
The obsession.
I know what it is.
I obviously, have a room in his head,
rent free. You do everything with grace.
A suite in his head. But the thing about it is that was always clear to me. Look, first of all, when I was president, the last thing I had time to do was worry about what
somebody said,
or what my predecessor did. Mm-hmm. They're gone. I've got work to do.
You locked in.
It's hard to describe if you're doing the job right. Mm-hmm. Every day you've got 5-10 things that are real hard, and you have to be constantly focused. The idea that I'd be worrying about
came before
somebody who came before and me trying to measure, like, what's he done today? Look, constantly worrying about that is a strange thing to me. It shows me somebody who's not focused on the American people and the job they're supposed to do.
He does a couple of different voices there. He's got a white voice. He's got a Pakistani voice. He refers to Pakistan as Pakistan. And he's got a black thing going, right? Because he wants to invoke that. I don't know who this guy is, but he's black. And Obama doesn't necessarily feel comfortable being black, in that he's viewed with suspicion in the black community. I know this from his own books. So he's got to kind of ham that. He's got to play that part up. And I think it's actually important that President Trump has his eye on Barack Obama. He makes it sound like he's innocent, right? Your predecessor didn't work to sabotage your reelection, didn't work to sabotage your election, didn't unleash the FBI on you, didn't coordinate the opposition. You've made yourself a player. You brought this scrutiny upon yourself, Mr. Obama. Anybody going to go to that? I would be scared to go inside that library, wouldn't you? There's something just, I want to avoid it. I really do. What else do we have going here? Everybody see Caitlin get punched right in the throat there. Caitlin Clark, another thing that has potentially racial overtones. It's interesting. She gets punched on it whenever she plays a game. She gets hassled. A lot of jealous people out there. She can do those 3-point shots like nobody. An amazingly talented player. And for that, she's paying a price. She gets beaten and pummeled. But we haven't seen anything like the neck thing. The throat to the neck. Everybody knows you can die from that. Now, she didn't full on. I think it looks really bad. Anytime you got I want to see somebody. I mean, I didn't hear anybody in 2020 saying, well, he's not punching George Floyd with his knee. It's just there, right? It's just there. Well, I think it's that woman's fist, the player's fist, is just there. And that can do a lot of damage. Your trachea isn't exactly a bone. It's like hardened cartilage. It could break. That poor girl, although she's doing fine. All kinds of endorsements. She only gets paid like $500 a game or something like that. They don't pay them a lot of money. It's all endorsement deals. That's the WNBA. Maybe it's changing. It should change, actually. It should change. Clarence Thomas is a guy you don't hear from all that often because, why? He does things discreetly. He doesn't go on talk shows very often, unless he writes a book or something like that. And you can hear him during oral arguments. Contrary to popular belief, he does speak out in those things. He's brilliant. And this whole idea that turning off that TPS program was somehow, they try to say that Donald Trump came up with this policy to not let the illegal aliens in who are seeking asylum, as especially from Haiti, because he's racist. And it was so insulting. Here's Clarence Thomas, not on the bench and actually not wearing judicial robes, telling us boy, I like this guy. He's somebody I would like to meet. Cut 17, if you don't mind. Cut 17.
Give me liberty or give me death. That devotion has driven the great achievements and heroism of Americans in the 250 years since. Think of the frontiersmen who settled the West. Think of the families who built their little towns on the prairies. Think of the women who raised their children to love God and country and sent them off to fight wars. It is a devotion expressed in the final sentence of the Declaration, the willingness to do anything for our principles that has throughout American history been most indispensable. It is that devotion that we are missing today and that we must find in our hearts if this nation is to endure.
Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas putting a spotlight on America's founding principles in a powerful speech.
Well done, Brian Kilmeade, bringing that to everybody's attention. So few people are willing to do that. Where are they? Where are they? Well, hopefully we'll see him during the great big America cookout that's taking place for this 4th of July State Fair. You hear about it. It's in full session right now. Goes from 9 p.m. 6. What are the hours of this thing? It's free, number one. It's basically all day long. I think it closes at 9 o'clock at the Washington Mall. Good luck getting into the Smithsonian Museum, though. The Smithsonian Air and Space Museum is the best museum in the world. Got spaceships and fighter jets all over the place. You can touch a moon rock. You can buy the astronaut ice cream, which is amazing. They got the coolest toy store in the world. And also there, they have the original Starship Enterprise, the model of the Enterprise from the original series, not all these crazy spin-off shows. I can't believe how many people actually like The Next Generation with Jean-Luc Picard. He is no Captain Kirk. How can you have a bald guy in that role? Captain Kirk was cool. I don't like any of those guys. Data and the one with the mask. It's only the original 79 episodes, including the one with Captain Pike, played by Jeffrey Hunter. Now that was great television. Wow. All right. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Mamdani and the farce of his mayoralty is not a farce. It is a danger to our safety and livelihood. This man must be stopped. All right? We got to get... Sid Rosenberg talks about running against him. Is he serious? I don't want another Curtis situation. I know Look, Sid is a million times smarter than Curtis. And he's got a lot more energy. It's another thing about he didn't have much energy, Curtis. A little bit sluggish. Could Sid do it? All right. Sid, let's talk. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, the bucktooth bimbo from Buffalo. What is she doing now? Another thing she's ruining as she sucks up to the liberal base of the Democrat Party that she is afraid of. Let's see. As of this morning, as of 12 a.m. this morning, New York's law prohibiting law enforcement officials from wearing masks while carrying out their duties is now in effect. New Yorkers have a right to know who is exercising law enforcement authority in their communities. Well, they have name tags on and they have badge numbers. So that should be sufficient. Why would you need their face? Why would you need their face? If you all you'd want to do is dox them. Dox them. You know about doxing, right? You figure out where somebody lives. You figure out where somebody, where their kids go to school. You find their Facebook page. And then sooner or later, you kill them. You kill them. And that's really what I'm afraid of. Something bad happening to a law enforcement person. It's happening to ICE officers all over the place. It's interesting. I can go back to January 6th. You know, the cops that suddenly Democrats fell in love with, right? A lot of those guys were wearing masks. A lot of them, actually. Some of them were wearing masks and no discernible identification that would indicate that they're police officers. That's something I don't like. I've always said, and I've seen it more and more. I got to know who you are. All right. Are you police? Are you this? Are you that? And I think it's got to say it. Police. I don't care what law enforcement. Just say police. Just say police. When I remember Antifa, I first started hearing about Antifa. I didn't know really what it was. And I saw this guy, two guys coming down the street, and they had all this body armor on. And they were wearing knee pads and helmets, and it was all black. And it had no insignia. And they just went running by. I'm like, who are these? Is that the Antifa I always hear about? It doesn't say police. I remember my dad coming home with his equipment when he was in emergency services. And he had a great big bulletproof vest. And I took a picture of him in the backyard. And we posed with him. It's so cool. It said police right on the damn thing. And this is like 1982 or something, 80, 81. Police. And they got away from that. And now Kathy Hochul, for political reasons only, right? Because of this ICE thing. And this law could very well get law enforcement hurt or killed. These Antifa people, do you remember that jerk at the, what do they call that place? Delaney Hall? Saying, I got your face, mother effer. I got your face. I'm going to kill you. Now you're dead. Because they can find it in like 8 seconds if they got your face. And everybody's got to be protected, the ICE officers and their family. Speaking of family, there's my beautiful children. We haven't done a baby talk in a while. This is primarily Madeline, and she's giving me a tour of her room that has wallpaper, fish on the wallpaper, and then we start going through a book. I think that's what we have here. Go ahead if you don't mind, please. 6. What are they called again?
Did you get it back, Mom? Starfishes.
Beautiful. Oh, what are these?
Did you get the bag? Jellyfishes.
I wrote to the company. I hope so.
My wife.
They're jellyfishes.
What kind of what? Jelly what?
Jellyfishes.
I think we just say jellyfish.
No, it's jellyfishes.
What are this? What's this?
A shark.
Yep, a shark.
Now,
what does sharks eat? Do you know what sharks eat?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Octopus.
Oh, octopus. What's special about an octopus?
I don't know. Wow. They camouflage.
Yes, and they have a lot of legs.
They have 8 legs.
8 legs. Isn't that amazing?
Those are suction cups, I think.
Well, this is the thing about their legs. They have them here. Their legs are actually part of their arms. and 4 arms and 4 legs. Crab.
A crab.
Yeah, all right.
Wow.
You've got really. Alrighty. It's a beautiful thing raising a young family. Got very excited about the crab. Did you know that? Is she right about the octopus? I never heard that before. They got 4 legs and 4 arms. It could be. Hey, one thing it said in the book, it's a kid's book about animals. You know what it said? It said it had a table of contents. And like on page 8, it said octopuses. I always thought the plural of octopus was octopi, right? Aren't you supposed to say octopi? I think it was octopi, like cactus. You don't say cactuses, you say cacti. And I believe grammatically I'm correct about the jellyfish thing, the jellyfish matter, right? You don't say jellyfishes, you say jellyfish. Anyway, we're working on all that stuff, the grammar. Hopefully I'm correct. 800-848-9222 to be continued momentarily. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?